Okay, on this one, reviewing what you should already know how to do on the factoring. First off, I will go and I will draw my box. I will go and I will draw my box. And in the upper left-hand corner goes the first term, a squared. So this one goes up in the top left. The 25 goes in the bottom right. We're going to have something A, something A. Now, there is a 1 in front of that a squared. 1 times 25 is 25. I need the factors of 25. I know it's 1 and 25, negative 1 and negative 25, 5 and 5, negative 5 and negative 5. My factors need to add up together to give me, a positive 10. These add up to give me a positive 10. So I'm going to use 5 and 5. Now, when you split up a squared, it goes a and a. A times what is 5a? Plus 5. A times what is 5a? Plus 5. You can write your answer two ways. A plus 5 times a plus 5. Or we can write it as a plus 5 squared. They both mean the same thing. Number 2. As we go through and we draw our box, I know it's going to be the box. It has 3 terms. I'm not missing any middle term for a difference of squares. Up in the upper left-hand corner is the first term, which is k squared. The bottom is negative 12. We have something k. Whoa, nice k here. There we go. Something k. Now, again, there is a 1 in front of that k squared. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. If you don't know what your factors are, you can go to the calculator and go to y equals and put in there negative 12 divided by k, or x in this case, second graph. Now, list my factors. I need the factors that add up together to give me this middle number right here, which is negative 4. So as I look in the calculator here, I add these. I'm already there, actually. 2 and plus negative 6 is negative 4. So that's the only thing I need right there. 2 and negative 6, because when you add them together, they give you negative 4. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put 2 and negative 6. It doesn't matter which one of these two spots I put it in. K squared splits up as k and k. K times what is 2k plus 2. K times what is negative 6k? Negative 6. So my answer is k minus 6 times k plus 2. Go ahead and do this next problem. Okay, number 3. First off, you should have drawn your box. Some of you might be able to start seeing this mentally, especially when it's only an x squared. I have x squared and minus 12, negative 12. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. I need the factors of negative 12. I have 1 and negative 12, negative 1 and 12, negative 2 and 6, 2 and negative 6, negative 3 and 4, and 3 negative 4. You could have found that in the calculator if you didn't know it. I need the factors that equal this middle term, which is a positive 1. Right here, when I add these two together, I get a positive 1. These should have been your factors. So I have negative 3x and 4x. X squared splits up as x and x. X times -3 gives me -3x. X times 4 gives me 4x. So my factors become x plus 4 times x minus 3. Number 4. As I go and I draw my box here, I put the first term, so I'm going to put m squared up here. 28, positive 28 down here. Now, see, mentally, as I'm going through and looking at this, I know that m squared is going to split up as m and m, so I know that that's going to start up there. You can look and see that since this is a positive and this middle term is a negative, both of these should be negative. So I need the factors of 28 because 1, the coefficient here, 1 times 28 is 28. I need the factors that give me -11. Well, there's 1 and 28, -1 and -28. I've got 4 times 7, -4 and -7. I know that these two add up together to give me -11. So it'll be -4m and -7m. So m and m times what is -4m? -4. M times what is -7? -7. So it's m minus 7 and m minus 4. The question is, does it matter? You mean these numbers right here? No, it does not. You could put the -4 down here and the 7 up here. It doesn't matter what order you put these in up here. You could have written m minus 4 times m minus 7. It still means the same thing. Okay? Number 5. Okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to draw my box. I know in my upper left-hand corner, I'm going to put y squared. The upper left-hand corner is the first term, y squared. The bottom right is the 20. Something y, something y. There's a 1 in front of this, 1 times 20. That's how I come up with this number. I need to find the factors of 20. I have 1 and 20, -1 and -20. Oh, I've got 4 and 5, -4 and -5, 2 and 10, -2 and -10. Now, I need the factors that add up together to give me 12. This gives me 21, -21. Right here gives me positive 12. I don't have to go any farther. So I'm going to put a 2 and a 10 in there. Y squared splits up as y and y. Y times 2 is 2y. Y times 10 is 10y. So I have y plus 10 times y plus 2 should be your answer. Go ahead and try number 6. Okay, on number 6, first thing I do is look and see if there's a GCF. I'll tell you right now and just remind you that if this is always like a c squared, x squared, whatever, there's no GCF. I mean, other than a 1. So I can go here. I can go here and put in there c squared here and minus 26. Now, you know that it's got to be something and a c. Well, you know, it's the same as an x, something and a c. So there's a 1 in front of the c squared. So you multiply those two together and you get -26. I need the factors of -26. Okay, well, first off, if you're trying to figure out what numbers go into 26, remember in your calculator, we should go into y equals and put in there -26 divided by x. And then press second graph. Now, when I put Negative 26 divided by x. I need the factors that add up together to give me this middle number, which is negative 3. So right here, the first one that kind of comes up on mine, it depends on where your calculator starts at. A lot of them start here where it says 0 and error because you can't divide by 0. If I add 1 and negative 26, I get negative 25. 2 and negative 13 is negative 11. Still not helping. So let's see. I keep going down, looking for my whole numbers. Well, right here, 13 and negative 2. None of these, as I keep going up towards 26, you're going to find that none of these work. And if none of them work, what you're supposed to write is it's not factorable. So all we write is not factorable. We're going to find out in the next unit what we need to do with this because there's a reason why we factor. You can write NF if you'd like to, that's fine. So let's look at this next one. Let's look at number 7. First thing it says m squared. That means there's no GCF. So I'm going to draw my box. Now for some of you, again, you should be able to see maybe some of it you can do mentally. Because m squared splits up as m and m. Okay? I know that they're both positives right here, so it's going to be a plus and a plus. Maybe you can look here and see what are the factors of 28 that add up together to give you 11. If you can see that, you can put it in there and check in your calculator. I've got m squared, and down here I've got 28. Something m, something m. There's a 1 in front of there. I'll multiply these two together and get 28. I need the factors of 28 that add up together to give me 11. So if I go into y equals and put in there 28 divided by x, second graph, let's see, second window, I'm going to go back to 0. It's easier to start there. I'm looking, I add these two together, it gives me 29, gives me 16. There we go, 4 and 7 gives me 11. So I would go in here. Remember I said 4 and 7. It doesn't matter which box you put them in. M squared splits up as m and m. M times what is 4m? 4. M times what is 7m? 7. So it's plus 7 plus 4. If you saw that already or knew how to put that in the calculator and found it, you wouldn't have to go through and do the box, especially if it's just an m squared or x squared. Number 8. Go ahead and draw the box. Let's start and draw the box here. I know that there's not a GCF. So knowing that there's not a GCF, I could go ahead and make my parentheses and split up my t squared, not t squared, what am I saying, my t and t. Now, one of the things, especially if you looked at that video when it said teach me how to factor, one of the things it talked about was this right here is what multiplies. Well, to get a negative, it's got to be a positive times a negative. Okay, so that means it's got to be a positive and a negative. And then it talked about this right here. It just means the sign of the bigger goes here. So when I find my factors, the larger number will be the negative because that's what that middle term is. Again, you don't have to do it that way. We can still go back through and do the box. T squared, negative 48. Something t, something t. There is a 1 in front of this. 1 times negative 48 is negative 48. I need the factors of negative 48 that give me negative 2. So if I go in here, I have negative 48 divided by x. Second graph. Add them together, they need to be negative 2. I add these together, I get negative 47, negative 22, negative 13, negative 8. Right here, ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner. 6 plus negative 8 gives me negative 2. So I know that it's 6 and a negative 8. Well, I know that it's going to be 6 and negative 8. See, because right here, t squared splits up as t and t. T times what is 6t plus 6? T times what is negative 8t? Right? This one is actually like what you guys did yesterday, is a difference of squares. How do I know that? Difference of squares, or a perfect square, means that there's a minus between it. Difference of squares, difference is subtraction. I know that there's no middle term, there's no regular t that's in there. We can still do it the same way we've done it by doing the box, but if I use it by different squares, what number times itself gives me 64? Hopefully you know it's 8 times 8. Now, if not, if the numbers get higher, like 121 and things like that, you can go into your calculator and we can go second, and see the x squared button above it is a square root sign. And you can put in there 64 and press enter. The square root of 64 means that it's 8. It means that it's 8 times 8. That helps you. Like if on the 25, second and the x squared, put in there 25. Don't do the negative sign. Just use it as a positive number. And it tells you 5. So 5 times 5. Go away. There we go. So I know that this is 5 times 5. So here, that means I'm going to split it up as 8 and 8. Difference of squares means I've got 1 plus and 1 minus. And then 5t and minus 5t. Remember, the reason why that happens is because if I put 8 plus 5t and 8 minus 5t, right here is 64. 8 times 8. This right here is negative 40t and positive 40t and negative 25t squared. Well, these are what's canceling out. That makes 0. Because when you add these two together, it makes 0. That's your difference of squares. You do not have to use the box. I'd rather you start to see this, right? And then put this in the, see that you take the square root of them and put it in there. Okay, here's number 10. Take a second. Let's try and do number 10. Okay, on number 10, it's okay. On number 10, first, I see that there's a 2x squared, okay? It's not going to be as simple as just splitting things up. You have to look at it a little bit. Some people will get to be able to do this and see it. I know that 2x squared splits up as 2x and x. And like what we had to do back in the day before we had like the idea of this graphic organizer, we had to guess and check. Okay, and just kind of put in numbers and try and figure out what works. Right here, I'm going to put in here 2x squared. And down in the bottom right-hand corner is negative 21. Something x, something x. Now, multiply these two numbers together. 2 times negative 21 is negative 42. I need the factors of negative 42 that give me 11. So when I go in here, somebody said you couldn't find it. Okay, well, let's see if that works. Negative 40, or if that's the deal, negative 42 divided by x, second graph. First thing I do is start right there at 0. When I add these two together, it gives me negative 41. That says negative 19. Now this one says negative 11. Okay? So, well, if that says negative 11, look at the opposite way. Right here, 3 and 14, that's positive 11. That's the factors. 3 and 14. So right here I've got, or 3 and, let's see, negative 3 and 14. Because when you add those two together, you get positive 11. So now when I put it in here, negative 3 and 14. The deal is that 2x squared, a lot of people just randomly try and put like the 2x here and the x here, thinking that it doesn't matter. It does matter where you put those at. See, because right here, one of the ways that you're going to know that you're wrong is because if I go 2 times what gives me negative 3? Is there any whole number you can take times 2 to get negative 3? No. So that means the 2 can't go up there. If you guessed and put the 2x here, now some people go, well, it worked for me. That's because you would have put the 14 down here. If I go and do this, 2 times what gives me 14? Plus 7. X times what gives me negative 3x? Negative 3. The reason why this happens is because what's the GCF out of these two boxes? No, it is not 7. 2 goes into 2. 2 goes into 4. That's why the 2 comes out here. The GCF right here, what's the biggest that goes into these two is just a 1x. See, I'm trying to avoid you guys. The biggest mistake is people say GCF is 7 because they look at this thinking 2 divided into 14, but that's what's going up there. All right, so now my factors are 2x minus 3 and x plus 7. Now remember, to check it, you put the original problem right here, all of this into y1. All of this into y2 and press second graph. Then you should look and see, because all of y1 should equal y2. These two things should be the exact same. Number 11. As I look at this, I see that this is a g squared, which is the same as x squared. I know that I could split it up as g and g. If I'm trying to do this mentally and look, I see that there's a positive right here. Well, what type of numbers multiply together to give me a positive? Positive and a positive, or a negative and a negative? Well, since the middle term is a negative, I know that it's got to be a minus and a minus. If I look and see what are the factors of 3, what multiply together to give me 3? 1 and 3, and negative 1 and negative 3. Do either of those factors add up together to give me negative 4? Yeah, these add up to give me negative 4. So I have negative 1 and negative 3. That's how I go through and do it mentally, especially if there's just an x squared. You can still do the box and do it the exact same way I've been doing it, but I'm just trying to show you guys some quicker ways. Again, I would always check my answers in the calculator before I moved on. Number 12. It says x squared plus 4. Well, first off, it only has 2 terms. Problem is, if it was x squared minus 4, it would be the difference of squares. Difference because it's subtraction. And it would be plus 2 and minus 2. When there is a plus sign in between these and there's only 2 terms, this is not factorable. The only thing you can look and see here is if there's a GCF to pull out. There is no GCF to pull out, so there's nothing that you can do here on 12. All right, here's 13. Number 13, I see that there's a 3x squared. So I know that I've got to do a little more than just the x squareds. So I'm going to draw my box, helping keep things organized. I've got 3x squared and negative 25. By this time, you should know that those go in those boxes. I get something x and something x. I'm going to multiply these two numbers, and I get negative 75. I need the factors of negative 75 that give me 10, a positive 10. So when I go in here, I'm going to put in there negative 75 divided by x, because I sure don't want to write all those out. All right, so if I start at 0, if I add these two together, I get negative 74. That's a decimal. I'm not going to mess with that. 3 and negative 25 is negative 22. Decimal. Oh, what about this one? 5. You do have to go opposite because this is 5 and negative 15. That gives you a negative 10. So since whenever you get the right number, but one's positive instead of negative, go the other way and look. Here, 5 and negative 5 and 15, if you add that together, it gives you a positive 10. So I get negative 5 and 15. So again, let's see, I've got negative 5 and 15. I know 3x squared splits up as 3x times x. Now, it matters where I put it. If you want to just try and guess and check, that's fine. But another way to look at this is, see, out of these two boxes right here, okay, that I've put here, what is the GCF? A 1x. So if 1x goes here, what's the GCF out of here? It's a 3. 3 goes into 3. 3 goes into 15. 3x goes here. Now, 3 times what gives me 15? Plus 5. X times what gives me negative 5x? Negative 5. So my factors become 3x minus 5 times x plus 5. No. It says 3x minus 5 right here, and then x plus 5, because this is a positive 15. Yeah, it's messed up because I always put that when I do the GCF. I kind of write it right there. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and try and do number 14. All right, this one. I want to do this one mentally and without doing the box, because I want you starting to see that when you have an x squared, w squared, or whatever, that's got to be w and w. Now, you just need the factors of negative 54. You want to find the numbers that multiply together to give you 54. But they must add together to give you negative 3. So if I go to the calculator and go to y equals and put in there negative 54 divided by x, second graph, I want to find the factors that give me negative 3. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I'm looking at negative 6 and 9. If I add those together, it gives me positive 3. So it just means that I need the opposite. Some of you guys already get that already. Oh, I just passed it. 6 and negative 9. If I add those together, it gives me negative 3. So I have plus 6 minus 9. And I can put those right in there as long as I have that, if it's only x squared or w squared, or, you know, it doesn't have like 2x or 3x. Now, number 15. A difference, it's a perfect square. It's the difference of squares. See how there's a minus in between here? That means I'll be able to split it up. I'll have a plus and a minus. Now, the square root of 100, what number times itself gives you 100? It is 10 and 10. So that goes here. Now, what about the square root of 49? What number times itself? It'll be 7 and 7. I have to add the c with it. 7c, negative 7c, and positive 7c. Okay? That only works when there's two terms and there's a minus sign in between it. If this was a plus in between it, it is not factorable. Number 16. The first thing you look at, I see that there is a 2 in front of the b squared. So I want to figure out, is there a GCF to take out? Can the 2 go into 17 evenly? No. 17 divided by 2 would give you a decimal. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to build my box. No, well, the mentally ones is when it's just b squared, when there's not a coefficient in front of that first term. I've got 2b squared and 30. Something b, something b. 2 times 30 is 60. I need the factors of 60 that add up together to give me 17. So right here, let's see. 60 divided by x, second graph. What'd you find? Five and 12. Okay, so, well, one of the things, well, let me see. Let me ask how many people did this. How many people only did the factors of 30? Okay, that, and I'm glad I saw that too and thought about it, because you have to take a time, what it's called a times c. 2 times 30, you have to do that, and then you're finding the numbers of 60. Now, it is 12 and 5. So, here we go. 12 and 5. Because the thing that stinks is if you just did it for 30, you would find 15 and 2. But if you went to go check it, it wouldn't be right. So here I'm going to put 12 and 5. 2b squared is going to split up as 2b and b, but it matters where you put it at. Out of these two top boxes, what's the GCF? It's just a b, right? Well, you're saying it doesn't, but it doesn't have a number. Out of these two right here, what's the GCF? Does 2 go into 12? Yeah, that means it's 2b. So now I have b times what is 5b? Plus 5. 2 times what is 12? 6. So I get b plus 6 times 2b plus 5. Again, every one of these you should be checking in the calculator in case something like that happened when you took the factors of 30. All right, number 17. You're going to have problems like this on your quizzes and tests. It says the rectangular area, or the area of a rectangular lot is represented by. So it's giving you the area or the product. What is the length and the width? So what are the factors? So I'm going to go here first, and I'm going to draw my box. First thing I look at, is there a GCF to pull out of this? Does 6 go into 13? No. 2 and 3, I can't see anything. You can double check and make sure, but there's no GCF in this. So I'm going to put 6t squared and negative 5. Something t, something t. Multiply 6 times negative 5 and get negative 30. I need the factors of negative 30 that give me positive 13. So I go in here and I put negative 30 divided by x, second graph. I need them to be positive 13. Well, let's see. I think I probably need to go backwards, don't I? Or no? Well, that's negative 1. What do we find? Right here, negative 2 and positive 15. If you add those together, it gives you positive 13. So I get negative 2 and 15. Negative 2, 15. Now, see, the problem is 6x squared can split up a bunch of different ways. It can, well, I guess not a bunch, but a couple different ways. It can be 6t times t, 2t times 3t. Okay, so when I look at these, well, what's the GCF out of this? Does 6 go into 15? No. What about, the next one I can think of is, if you put it in the calculator, remember, let's remind ourselves on the calculator, though, real quick. When I go in here, I can press math, Arrow over to number, the number 9, 6, comma, 15, and press enter. It gives me 3. So that means out of these two, it's a 3t. Out of these two right here, it's 2t. 3 times what is 15? 5. 2 times what gives you negative 2? Negative 1. So my length and my width, 3t minus 1 and 2t plus 5. Some people ask me, well, how do you know which one is the length and the width? It doesn't matter. You can say either one. Just I know that one of these is the length and one is the width. It doesn't matter which one you call what. Okay? Do number 18 right now. Right there, do number 18. What you see in this one, it says the area of the desktop is represented by x squared minus 49. Find the dimensions of the desktop in terms of x. Well, you should see that it's a perfect square, or that it's a difference of squares, whatever you want to call it. So when I go to split it up, x squared splits up as x and x. Since there's a minus right here, I know one is plus and one is minus. What is the square root of 49? 7 times 7. So I'll get x plus 7 and x minus 7. Those are the dimensions of the desktop. The next one. On number 19, it says the area of the square is represented by, and it gives us this right here. This is our product. What is the length of each side of the square? A couple of things. That the length, that means that I need to find the factors. But let's think about what this is saying. What do we know that's true about a square? Yeah, on a square, all the sides are equal. So that means whatever I come up with, whatever's going to happen is got to be that the factors have to be the same. So that's something that's going to help us try and figure out what our factors are. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to draw my box. And in the upper left-hand corner up here is 4s squared. The bottom right-hand corner is plus 1. I'm going to have something s and something s. Now, you're supposed to take these two numbers and multiply them together. That'll give me a 4. I need the factors of 4. So I've got 1 and 4, negative 1 and negative 4, 2 and 2, negative 2 and negative 2. Now, once I find the factors, what am I supposed to be doing next? Seeing which ones add up together to give me this middle number right here. I need them to add up together to give me negative 4. If I add these together, it gives me 5. Add these two together, it gives me negative 5. Positive 4. Here it is, negative 4. So I'm going to put in there negative 2 and negative 2. Now, 4x squared, I said they've got to be the same. So 4x squared, remember, is 4s and s, or 2s and 2s. And if on a square they've got to be the same, that means that this is going to be a 2s and this is going to be a 2s. Well, that makes sense because out of these two boxes, the GCF is a 2s. Out of the top and the bottom box, it's 2s. 2 times what gives you negative 2? Negative 1. Well, that's got to be the same over here. So the length of each side is 2s minus 1. Whoops, that one made a line. Number 20. Now this one, it says the area of the rectangular sign is, and it gives us 7x squared minus 20x minus 3. And it gives us the width. and it wants us to find the length. Now, you could go totally through and just factor this and find your factors and find the one that's not 7x plus 1. One of the ways that I would go to set this up to do it without doing all the factoring, I draw my box, and what do I know goes in the top left-hand corner? 7x squared. What do I know goes in the bottom right? That -3. I just put that in there for right now. I know that one of my factors is 7x plus 1, so I'll put it where the factors belong. Now let's treat it like a puzzle. 7x times what gives me 7x squared? X, right? Isn't 7x times x 7x squared? What about this? 1 times what gives me -3? -3. So there is my length, x minus 3. That's all you would have to do on those. Number 21. Let's try number 21 because I would do it the exact same way I just did number 20. All right, looking at this one, it says the length of the rectangle is 7x plus 2, and the width of the rectangle is 3x minus 1. Write an expression that represents the area of the rectangle. Well, actually, I guess I didn't read it when I went through. It gives us the length and the width. We just need to multiply to find the area. So I go through here. This is like what we did on our last test, 7x plus 2 and 3x minus 1. So in this box here, I have 7x times 3x, 21x squared, 7x times -1, -7x, 3x times 2, 6x, 2 times -1, -2. Add the two boxes together that have the x's. My answer becomes, my area is 21x squared minus x minus 2 is what you should have got. The question was, you put 1x. If you put minus 1x, then that's fine. Number 22, it says the side of a square is 5x plus 4. What is the area? Well, if that's the side length, that's one of my factors. And of a square, that means that they're the same. So I'm going to take 5x plus 4 times 5x plus 4. So to find the area, let's go ahead and multiply. 5x plus 4, 5x plus 4. Right here, 5 times 5, 25x squared. 5x times 4 is 20x. 4 times 5x, 20x. 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to add these two x boxes together, and I get 25x squared plus 40x plus 16, and that should be your answer. Number 23. 23 is actually not this quadratic. It's a review of what we've done before in the past. It's systems of equations. First off, it says 2 soft drinks and an order of French fries cost $5 at a football game. Mark ordered a soft drink and an order of fries for himself, and the same for Brittany. If Mark paid $7, what is the price of the soft drink? So basically we have, let's see, I'm going to make D equal the drink and F equal the French fries. I have 2 times the drinks plus 1 times the French fry equals $5. The second one says that 1 drink plus French fries, let's see, 2 drink, I'm sorry. Let's see, it said Mark ordered a soft drink and an order of fries for himself, and the same for Brittany. Okay, so I guess it's got to be, let's see here. So what is that? 2 drinks plus 2 fries. So both of them, they each got a drink and a fry, right? And Mark paid $7. What is the price of the French fries? Well, I'll look and I can get away from the drinks by multiplying the top equation by -1. So it becomes -2D. Remember, -1 times 2D. You're taking -1 times all of them. Minus the F equals -5. We didn't do anything to the bottom one, so rewrite that as normal. Well, the D's cancel out. 1F minus 2F is just an F, a positive F, equals -5 plus 7 is 2. Thing is, though, it says, what is the price of the soft drinks? See, the French fries are $2. French fries equal $2. Now we need to figure out the drinks. I'm going to use the equation 2 times a drink plus 1 French fry equals $5. Well, 2 times a drink plus, we just said the French fries were $2. And that equals 5. So I'm going to subtract 2 from each side. 2 drinks equals $3. Divide that by 2. You should have gotten that the drink equals $1.50. That's all review from what we've done in the past. Now, number 24. Number 24 says, what are the dimensions and the area of the given rectangle? Remember, dimensions are going to be my factors. Area is going to be my product. The product, that part's easy. That's what's listed here. See, I have x squared, and then these are all x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have x squared plus 11x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Plus 30. That's my area. Now, if we wanted to find our factors, you could factor this. Or if I draw my factor frame out, nice straight lines, Crawford. I could also find it by doing this, by drawing and bringing in my lines. So right here, this is an x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X plus 5. So one of my dimensions is x plus 5. The other one, this is an x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. X plus 6. Because 5 times 6 is 30. And when you add them together, that gives you the 11x.